Rolling admissions, early action 1, early action 2, early decision. What do these mean? Well, if you're trying to find out, you've come to the right video. Hey everyone, welcome if you're a new viewer. If you're a returner, welcome back. I'm Peter. I'm going to be a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania next year. I know a lot of juniors right now are wondering about the different decision cycles in college admissions. We have early decision, early action, regular decision, rolling admissions, all of those. And it can be very confusing, and I've had a lot of juniors come to me and ask, hey Peter, what's going on with early decision? What's going on with early action? Which one would you recommend that I do? And the answer is, it depends on the schools you're applying to and your circumstances. And today I'm going to be breaking all of those down so that you can make the best decision for you. And if you want to stay up to date with all the tips and tricks that helped me get into my dream school and will help you all as well, then please subscribe down below. Also turn on the notification bell and leave a like if you liked this video. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to break down all of the decision cycles into two main umbrellas. So that's going to be early rounds and that's going to be regular rounds. Okay, so now let's get into what each of these means. So the early rounds are going to consist of early decision and early action. Early decision is going to be a binding agreement whereby you say that if the school admits you, then you will go to that school. For early decision, you're going to be applying usually by November 1st or early November, and you'll get a decision back around mid-December. The most important thing that you should know about early decision is that it is binding. What does that mean? Well, that means that if you get admitted to the school under an early decision agreement, then you have to attend that school. One of the biggest things with early decision is that if you are admitted to this school, because it is binding, you must withdraw all the other applications that you have submitted and withhold submitting any additional applications. Now, if you are caught breaking this agreement, your admission will be rescinded, and you do not want that to happen. Additionally, it is really important that you, if you are admitted early decision, don't take away spots from people at other schools by getting admitted to those schools when you know that you are not going to be attending. So why would somebody want to do early decision? Well, usually early decision rounds, especially for extremely competitive private schools, have a higher acceptance rate. Now, there are some caveats to that I'll go into in just a moment. But before that, I'm going to start off with the pros and cons of early decision. So the pros include that there is usually a higher acceptance rate. Now, this higher acceptance rate can be offset a little bit by recruited athletes and people who have legacy status. However, the fact remains that for a lot of top private schools, early decision yields the highest acceptance rate. Other pros include that you know your decision earlier, so that means that if you got in, you find out much earlier than the regular decision rounds, and there's less stress going on with that. It is also for schools that track demonstrated interest, which is how interested you are in the school and how you've shown that interest through webinars, through campus visits, through a whole number of things. You can show demonstrated interest through applying early decision. Now, one thing that you should know is you should look at the proportion of students admitted early decision. It can often range. I know Columbia admits roughly 30% of their class early decision. The University of Pennsylvania is about 50%. So it varies heavily from school to school. And it's really important to sort of factor this in, because if you are applying to be one of a very small number of spots, you want to maximize your chances. Now, applying early decision sounds great for many applicants, especially if it's your dream school. However, there are some cons that you should be aware of. Now, the biggest one is that because you are admitted before receiving any decisions from other schools, unless they are rolling, which I'll talk about in a minute. If you are admitted early decision, you can't really see how much money other schools will give you. Now, it should be noted that if you apply early decision, most schools, if not all, however, you should obviously check before you apply. Most schools allow you to break the early decision agreement if your financial need cannot be met. So that means that if you receive your financial aid package and you cannot afford to pay what they are asking of you, then you are able to still submit all of your other applications and apply to other schools. An important thing to note is that a lot of schools that do offer early decision, especially top private schools, do meet 100% of need-based financial aid. And therefore, if you receive a financial aid package, they're asking for too much money from you or your family, then you should absolutely appeal your financial aid package and explain to them the circumstances that are preventing you from being able to pay that full amount. It is a very important thing for you to know that you can appeal your financial aid packages if you apply early decision or in any other round for that matter. Now, another big con of early decision is the time crunch. Early decision applications are usually due by November 1st, and you will receive a decision in mid-December. And that means that you need to have your applications done roughly 2 months ahead of time. And that can be difficult for a lot of students. I know me personally, although I was admitted early decision to the University of Pennsylvania, I found that my applications were stronger and also easier to write as I got more used to the flow of how they went and what I wanted to say. Another thing for early decision is some schools may allow you to apply early action, which is non-binding, to other private schools. Some only allow you to apply early action to public schools, and some may want you to only apply early to them. So really just check the school that you are applying to if you're applying early decision, and make sure that you are not breaking any rules of your contract by applying early to other schools. Something super important to note on the subject of early decision is that if you are deferred early decision to the regular round and you are admitted, you are not bound to attend anymore. That is only if you are admitted early decision that you have to attend the school. I would recommend early decision for somebody whose dream school that school is, and somebody who knows that they can put their best application forth by November 1st. Now, the financial aspects that I mentioned are also a very important consideration. And before you apply early decision, obviously you should think about all of the factors that I just listed so that you can make the best decision for yourself. One more side note on early decision is that there are, for some schools, early decision 1 and early decision 2. Now, early decision 1 is you submit your application by early November, hear back in mid-December. Early decision 2 usually submits at the same deadline as the regular decision applications. However, you hear back in mid-February as opposed to usually March. And the acceptance rate usually is a little bit higher for early decision 2 than it is for regular decision. Now, if you are rejected by a school for early decision 1, you can apply to another school for early decision 2. Okay, now on to the next one, restrictive early action or single choice early action. These are two terms that mean the same exact thing. For restrictive early action, you'll usually be applying by early November and you'll get a decision mid-December. Now, restrictive early action is used by a lot of top private schools who don't offer early decision. So that includes Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, Yale, among others. And this means that that is the only private school that you are applying early to. Now, for some of these schools, you're also not allowed to apply early to any other school. Some do allow you to apply early to public schools. However, the rules differ on a school-to-school basis. The pros include higher acceptance rates, much like early decision, although they are not usually as drastic a difference as the difference between early decision and regular decision. They also include you get an earlier notification date. Usually they come out in mid-December, but that does mean applying by 11/1. Additionally, restrictive early action is not binding. That means that if you are admitted to these schools, you can still submit other applications, and you should, and you can compare financial aid packages, see where else you got in. So it is not as restrictive as early decision in terms of what you can do after being admitted. Now, the cons include an earlier date where you have to submit your application. This is usually November 1st, much like early decision. Additionally, a lot of these schools see a more competitive applicant pool early action, especially at these top private schools. However, like I said, it is a higher acceptance rate when you apply restrictive early action, and most of the time it is in your favor if this is your top school to apply restrictive early action to show demonstrated interest and obviously to take advantage of that higher acceptance rate. Okay, so our next round is early action. Early action is similar to restrictive early action in terms of you are applying early to get a decision date earlier. However, it is not restrictive in any way. It just means that you are applying to this school earlier, usually in early November, and you will receive your decision usually in late January or early February. Okay, so the pros of early action are that you find out earlier and there can be a higher acceptance rate, often at public schools in the United States. You should check out the website down below that I linked that I used to decide whether to apply early action or regular decision. This data is about 2 years old, but the trends are usually the same, where schools will accept either more or less people early or regular decision. Now, really the only con is that you have to apply earlier, usually by early November. Similar to early decision, early action can have multiple rounds. I know that schools like Georgia Tech have multiple rounds of early action. However, sometimes, especially for public schools, they'll have the earliest round reserved only for in-state residents, and then out-of-state residents can apply afterwards. So you should obviously check your school's policy before applying. My rule of thumb for deciding whether to apply early action is if there are more people admitted early action than regular decision, then I would apply to that school early action. If there are not, then apply regular decision. Okay, now regular decision. So regular decision is going to be applying in usually January. Sometimes it can go as late as February, and you usually hear back around mid or late March. Now, the pros of regular decision are going to be that you can spend more time on your application because you're submitting it later. You can also see all the different financial aid packages you receive from different schools once you receive decisions and are admitted. Now, really the only cons of applying regular decision are that sometimes the acceptance rate can be lower than early decision or early action, but that's pretty much all you need to know about regular decision. Okay, now there's one more decision round that I wanted to talk about, and that is rolling admissions. Now, what is rolling admissions? Well, it basically means that the admissions officers at that school admit students as they apply. So instead of looking through all the applications after the deadline has passed, admissions officers make their decisions as applications roll in. This means that earlier on in the application round, more spots will be open at these schools. So you should apply as early as possible to rolling admission schools. Later on, there's going to be fewer spots, so the admissions offices will be more selective. I know a lot of public universities have rolling admissions processes. This includes Indiana University, University of Pittsburgh, and University of Oregon, among a bunch of others. Now, some schools will have a rolling admissions process early, and their regular decision will be a normal deadline where you submit by the deadline and then they review all of the applications. It really depends. However, something to note for rolling admissions is that if you apply early enough, you could receive a decision 2 or 3 weeks later. I have a friend who applied to Indiana University in early October, and he was admitted in early November, which was way ahead of any other applications that he got back, which is a really great thing because he knew that he had an acceptance under his belt, which was really awesome. Okay, now before I wrap it up, a few things that I want to note are that some schools have deadlines for merit-based scholarships. I know USC makes you apply by November 1st if you want merit scholarships. Boston University I believe, is December 1st. Vanderbilt University is December 1st. You'll want to have your application in by that deadline so that you can be considered for these scholarships. And once again, the College Transitions Dataverse is down below. That website was really helpful for me in figuring out whether I was going to apply early action or regular decision for many of the schools that I was applying to. And also, if you guys want one-on-one application help with your essays, activities lists, and everything else that goes into the college application process, I'm super happy to help. Please click the link down below and I can work with you on those. My biggest focus is bringing out all of your unique personality, because that's one of the best things that you can do to make your application stand out to admissions officers and get admitted to your dream schools. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know down below any video suggestions of things you might want me to go over pertaining to the application process. I know going into the summer, a lot of juniors are gearing up for writing their college applications. And that's a really great thing to get ahead on, because you obviously want to prioritize your mental health and minimize the stress during senior year. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.